Welcome to the Digital Learning Comprehension Questions on A Service of Love by O.Henry. I am Prasanna Urpikar, Associate Professor in English. A Service of Love by O.Henry is prescribed in the textbook of Language English of first semester students of BCom, B.B.A, B.H.M courses under Bengaluru City University, Bengaluru. This is a video on session 3. In this video, you would learn how to answer the comprehension questions. Questions which demand short answers in 1 or 2 sentences. You would learn how to answer questions which demand answers about a page. You would learn to answer questions which demand answers in about 2 pages. Learning objectives. Learn to write effective and coherent answers, to comprehend the internal organization of an answer, to develop coherent content, to support with relevant details. Session outcomes. At the end of this session, you would be able to answer questions appropriately. You would know to express precisely and accurately. You would be capable to distinguish relevant from irrelevant information. You would also improve writing skills. Now let us have a look at the points that we have to remember while answering 2 marks answers, that is, answering the questions demanding short answers. Read the questions properly. Write the question number correctly. Avoid repetitive words and sentences in the answer. You should use proper punctuation mark. The answer should be short. The answer should be in a sentence or 2. The answer should be written in complete sentence form. It should be accurate, relevant, and there should not be any description. Now let us have a look at the examples. Question number 1. These questions carry 2 marks and the answer should be written in 1 or 2 sentences. Where did Joe and Delia meet? Answer: Joe and Delia met in an atelier. Question number 2. According to Delia Caruthers, what was the name of her first pupil? Answer 2. According to Delia Caruthers, the name of her first pupil was Clementina. Now let us study how to answer the questions which demand answers in about a page. Read the questions properly. Write the question number correctly. Write a relevant answer. Avoid repetitive words and sentences. Use proper punctuation marks. Write the answer in about a page. Now let's study an example. Under whom did Joe and Delia begin to train themselves, and what made them look for a job? Here, the question demands 1-page answer. The answer in this slide is given in points. You have got to elaborate the points and write. The first paragraph should be about the title of the story and the name of the author and then the theme of the story. The next paragraph, you have to introduce Joe Larrabee and Delia Caruthers. You have to write about why they came to New York and whom did they choose as their masters and how they fell in love and got married to each other. You should also write about their ambitions, that Joe wanted to paint pictures which would be bought by old rich men. And then Delia wanted to be treated like a diva. You should describe how and what happened when they met in Atelier, and then how very soon they got married. They lived in a very small flat, and how, though they made lot of adjustments, it was very difficult for them to continue with their art because they faced money shortage. And then you have to write about how art grew weaker as money was going out, nothing was coming in. The shortage of money led to their difficulties of paying fees of their masters, Magister and Rosenstock. Now let us look at the points that you have to remember when you attempt the questions which demand answer in about 2 pages. Read the questions properly. Write the question number correctly. Write relevant answer. Give proper introduction. Your idea should be divided into paragraphs. Organize your thoughts properly. You have to avoid repetitive words and sentences. Use proper punctuation marks. And write the answer in about 2 pages. Now let us have a look at an example. Here in this example, the answer is given in points. You have got to elaborate the points and write your answer. Now the question is, how did Delia and Joe confess? Was there any change in their love after that they had lied? Explain. So in the first paragraph, you would write about the title of the short story, the author, and the theme of the short story. Then in the second paragraph, you would introduce the characters, Joe Larabi and Delia Karutas. You would write about the reason that they came to New York. You would write about their ambition. You would write about their masters under whom they were getting trained. Then you will write about how they met in Atelier, they fell in love with each other and got married. Then you would write how they started to live in a small, lonesome flat, yet they were happy because they were with each other. You have to write about how they enjoyed their time, and then slowly the money started to run out. So the shortage of money made them difficult to pay the fees of their masters. So Delia decides to take up music lessons. Joe doesn't want her to ignore her art, but then Delia convinces him that taking up music classes is equal to practicing music. Reluctantly, Joe agrees. At the weekend, they bring their earnings. You have to write about how Delia speaks about her student and how she spreads $15 on the table. Joe also takes out his earning of $18, and you have to write about the story that he tells, how he got $18. Then the climax of the story. The next week, Delia returns with bandages on her hand. She gives an explanation that Clementina spilled hot food on her hand, and General Pinkney sent the furnace man and got the cloth and oil and bandaged her burns. While telling this, you have to write how she said that iron fell and then corrected herself that rabbit fell. So Joe becomes suspicious. He asks her at what time this happened, and he asks her to sit down and inquires about what actually had happened. So now you have to write about how his inquiry made Dahlia to confess the truth. You also have to write how Dahlia innocently asks her how was it possible for him to find out that she was lying. Finally, you must write how Joe confesses that he was not able to sell or no one bought his sketches. He too was working on the engine in the same laundry where Dahlia was working. So coincidentally, he had sent on that day cotton and oil when somebody had told him that a girl working upstairs had burnt her hand. So listening to each other's story, both of them laughed to their heart's content. At the end, you have to write how Joe tells that when one loves one's art, and Dahlia corrects him, saying that it is when one loves. So you have to write in detail all these details of the story to write an answer of about 2 pages to this question. Thank you, students.